Jim Nantz, kind enough to call in as the Masters is getting underway at Augusta, Georgia, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Jim?
Hello, my friend.
Hello,
Greetings
sir.
from right inside Butler Cabin, where I'm safely ensconced. I can concentrate on watching some of the early action before we go up with some of our broadcast coverage today. And I just wanted to give you a jingle and
Thanks.
tell you hello.
I'm right back at you, Jim. I guess before we get into the Masters, I do want to hit on what happened a few days ago with Villanova and where you think that performance ranks with those that you've seen in the national championship game, Jim.
Well, it was a great team that was bound together with a lot of different parts that worked. And the more I saw them, the more I began to realize that it was a special team. It wasn't just a championship team. They could have competed and beaten a lot of near-term recent national champions, I believe. I don't know how far back you go, but someone asked me just right here at Augusta on the grounds yesterday, how would they rank as far as great teams in the last 10 years? And I think they're right up there near the top of the list. I really believe they could have beaten just about anybody that's won the championship over the last 10 years.
And do you think Jay Wright punched a Hall of Fame ticket that night?
No question. No, there's no question. That's done. There's no question he will be in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. What he's really done, though, is he's established himself as now the next wave of coaches, kind of become the next guys who were the leader of their sport. And I'm not phasing out anybody, but you start thinking about guys that are on the level of Roy Williams, of course, Mike Krzyzewski, Jim Boeheim. They are, they are all about 20, a little more, really more than 20 years older than Jay. So he's the next kind of generation. We've gone through. Calhoun's been retired. Pitino's out of the game now. We know all about that. But Jay's got 2 championships before the age of 50. And I really, truly believe that they're now a blue blood, if they weren't already. And there are going to be more big things coming for him in that program.
Did you give your tie out to anybody?
No, I stopped doing that. Unfortunately, it was something that I really enjoyed doing it to some special kids that I'd meet along the way. It was never intended to be ever discussed publicly, but it kind of the cat got out of the bag 2 years ago in Houston, and the reaction to it was just so harshly negative and took away the purity of the moment. I'd done it for, I think, 11 or 12 years, and no one ever knew about it. But then once Ryan Arcidiacono was the recipient, and he was kind and sweet enough to wear it to the press conference, he was so proud of it that people started to interpret what they thought it meant and put their own snarky narration behind it, hijacked the narrative, and what I thought was a really it was meant to be just a sign of respect, and I met a lot of great kids through the years that way. But if I ever do it again, or if I have done it again, no one's ever going to know about it because it was never supposed to be discussed. It's interesting. I saw Ryan walking off the victory platform on Monday night after we presented the trophy and everything, and I hadn't seen him since that night in Houston, and I had a great visit with him, and I just said, it's 2 years later, but I just want you to know that, there are players along the way that make a real impression on you about just being high quality individuals and leaders. And I said, I'm excited to see now your career starting to really blossom and develop. And I just have such a great respect and admiration for you. And as I do for all the ones that I shared that, a quiet moment with in the past.
Right.
The list of Peyton Sivas and Corey Brewers and Quinn Cooks and just great people who along the way, really again made an impression about the idea that they were going to be able to lead a team to a championship and do things the right way. In the classroom, in the locker room, on the floor. That still holds true. I mean, there was just Jalen Brunson and this team, and hey, look, the Michigan team. I mean, great young men, and I feel so fortunate to be able to see, right at a front row seat, the quality of kids that are out there in college basketball. I know the game certainly has gone through a battering, and there's FBI probe and all that's still ongoing, and this commission that's going to hopefully change the landscape. But it's not all negative when you get the front row seat that I have. You do meet some people that are doing things the right way. A great many of them, majority of them.
Well, I mean, that front row seat, Mo Wagner gave you quite a look-see from that. But you didn't mean it that way.
That was a little bit scary because, he kept coming toward us, and I thought he was going to be able to put on the brakes. Right. The next thing you know, he's leaping over the monitor, and he stepped right between where I was sitting and Grant. And when he stepped on our table honestly, it's pretty flimsy. It's like a cardboard table, I guess you call it. A card table. That's what it is, a card table. His foot could have gone right through. I mean, it could have been hazardous for him. I got out of the way. Somebody said you should have taken the charge. But hey, I suddenly saw my Masters week and the Monday Night Championship game suddenly were at risk. And I mean, I started running for cover.
Come on now, Duke guys are supposed to take the charge. Coach K teaches that
was
stuff.
The thing. I mean, Grant. That's one of the all-time looks on his face.
Yes, for sure.
When he did that.
So let's talk in the few minutes I have left with you here, Jim. The awarding of a garment, a piece of clothing that you definitely will be a part of this coming weekend in the cabin from which you are calling right now. Who do you think has the best shot at this, Jim, going in?
Well, going in, I really thought this year it's going to be one of these show ponies. I really believe it, but like a Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy. I mean, look, everybody's playing coming into it as the second story to Tiger's return to Augusta, which has tremendous excitement, and rightfully so. He's about to stand over about a 4-footer for par at the 7th hole. He's 1 over right now for the round. And what's interesting is one of the guys in his group, Mark Leishman, is at 3 under and leading the tournament through 7 holes. But it's been a banner year for the sport. Tiger's return is almost like it's not only affected his game with positivity, but it's also given other guys a chance to raise their stature, and they're all playing well. Phil Mickelson winning recently. I mentioned Rory, Justin Thomas won recently, Jason Day. It's just been a wonderful lead up to the Masters. I've never seen so many great players who are in such good form coming here. By the way, Tiger made his par at 7, so we head to the 8th tee at +1, which is currently tied for 20th.
Hold on a second, so Jim. Play the music for Jim if he's going to do this. Sorry, Jim. What's going on out there?
Gorgeous spring afternoon at Augusta, Georgia. The sun is shining, the temperatures are cool, and the greatest players in the world have begun the journey, the quest for the green jacket to make it to Butler Cup Cabin come Sunday around 7 o'clock. And this is going to be perhaps the most springtime conditioning of the week. We're going to have some weather later in the week. Oh, I hear the melody still playing.
Oh, yeah, no, it's okay. We're drop it down. I'm trying to give him the sound where you can cut the
contest or something.
It's like riding a bike. I heard you finished. I heard you finished in second with that 2 years ago on Dan's show. I heard, Jim.
I've never won my own sound-alike contest. That's a real goal of mine.
Last one for you before I let you go is, what do you think of this seemingly bromance that's bloomed between Phil and Tiger? Jim?
It's real. It's not just, hey, let's randomly play a round of golf on Tuesday together. I think a real friendship has developed there. And, the respect has always been there. I know both of them. And I've known Phil, to be just honest. I've known Phil better than I've known Tiger, because Tiger, in a lot of his glory years, didn't let that many people into his universe. And that's what worked for him. But I do know them both. And I do believe that they've gotten into their 40s. Of course, Phil's 47, Tiger's 42. And you get to a certain point where the world looks a little bit differently than it did in the past. And you start to appreciate certain things, and some of the things that maybe you wouldn't do in the past, or maybe bothered you in the past. I don't think there was anything bothersome in the past. But I think you mature. You become a fuller individual. And these guys realize that they are going to always be linked Jack and Arnie, they were fierce rivals. But look, until Arnie passed away 2 years this coming September, I mean, they were riding off into the sunset together. They did all kinds of appearances, and there was a wonderful bond and friendship there. And I think that Tiger and Phil, as they've gotten a little older, I think they realize their relationship needs to be in. They want it to be in a different place. They're going to the names are going to come up together, and I love seeing it. And of course, I love seeing them not only play a practice round on Tuesday, but maybe the final round together on Sunday. Wouldn't that be something?
It would be, Jim, and I can't wait to be settled into my couch with the rest of America, listening to you and everybody else on CBS with the tradition unlike any other. Appreciate the call.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Adam, for giving me the little undercurrent there to be able to get a rehearsal in.
There you go.
I start to hear the melody, and I mean, I go in sensory overload, and everything becomes heightened, and I get extra fired up. So
you're getting antsy. It sounds like you're getting antsy, Jim. I gotta be honest. The golf.
Did you say antsy or What did you say?
Yes, you're getting Nancy. You are getting.
Okay. Can I give you one? I know you're probably up against a break.
No, go for it.
We're on the 8th tee.
Do you need the music?
Look at the music here, Adam.
Okay, here we go.
We're gonna go live to the 8th hole.
Okay.
570 yards uphill, par 5. Tiger standing behind the ball, now stepping into it with driver. Now, he opened up today with driver on 1, and as he's so often done in the past, he hooked it into the trees to the left, but made par. Now, here's a tee shot on the way. This one's one he wants to catch fully, and he has blasted it into the fairway in striking position to go for this par 5 into. Currently at 1 over par. Full first-round coverage coming up later today.
Jim Nantz, everybody. That's a walk-off. Have a great one, Jim. Have a great one.
Drop the mic.
You got it. Jim Nantz.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.